Feeling lost in the gym jungle? Don't worry, I'm right there with you. Yeah, this is a Cyrex podcast where we navigate the fitness world together, ask all the embarrassing questions, and laugh at our own cluelessness. So join me as we learn, grow, and hopefully stop calling dumbbells barbells. Because, FMA weird. Yeah, let's dive in. Today we're diving deep into these often neglected heroes of the fitness world. Spoiler alert, they're way more important than you think. Not kidding. So get ready for another episode of this podcast where we prove that even the smallest muscles deserve some love. Okay, so let's start with why these muscles are important, why the wrists and forearms of all things are important. Yeah, because the reason I wanted to talk about these towards the beginning of starting my podcast is because a lot of trainers, a lot of beginners, they train all these huge muscle groups, the lats, the legs, the chest, triceps, and all that. But I didn't see a lot of people training, their wrists or forearms. I pretty much am the only person. There's like a couple of other guys that I see who train them regularly. And yeah, I want to talk about the importance of training those little things. So, number one, why train is because of their function in everyday life. So, training your wrist, number one, includes wrist strength, which is essential for activities like opening a can or opening a jar or carrying groceries or even maintaining good posture. So, and we do not want to be struggling with a simple task due to like weak grip strength of all things, like dropping groceries, difficulty opening a bottle, yeah, coming back against the same thing. Yeah, because this used to happen to me. I work at 9 to 5 at the moment, and my job involves a lot of typing and yeah, an extensive use of the wrist joint. So when I come back and get ready to hit the gym and everything, my arms are usually so weak, super weak. So I need to like kind of activate them. So I found it necessary that thank God I discovered this towards the beginning of my fitness journey. Because since my arms were super tired, I couldn't like perform well during my push days or pull days, like when we were doing like bench presses, chest presses, all that. Yeah, because my wrists used to give out a lot earlier than my arms did or my chest did, which is the muscle that we're targeting to hit that day, right? So you don't want these supporting muscles to give out before your main muscles do. So that's one of the main reasons that we gotta train these things too. So, and the second thing is to prevent injuries. So, I don't know if you've heard of this, but I read a couple of articles on Instagram and yeah, I think on Google. Yeah, but that's rarely the case though. Yeah, so they are about this syndrome called the carpal tunnel syndrome. Apparently, that you get that because of a weakness in the wrist and some inner complication in that regard. So I want to emphasize the fact that it occurs because of weak wrists, and that's essentially why you want to train wrists. And number two, like I said earlier, it's like wrist sprains. You don't want your wrist to give out. You don't want your wrist to sprain when you are doing a dumbbell press, for example. So where you're pushing heavy and your chest is highly activated, but you're essentially using your arms to do that. So your arms are the supporting muscles, and to get even more specific, your wrists are the one holding the dumbbells, right? So to avoid sprains, to avoid injury, and to avoid a syndrome or a disease like this to hit us in the long term, we gotta train those wrist muscles. And number three is improve performance. You literally would feel yourself performing better in exercises, especially where you don't involve a lot of restriction, but do involve a lot of holding the weights. For instance, deadlifts or pull-ups or even rows. Deadlifts, for instance, you hold the bar, right? You hold it in front of you and then use your hands to lift the weight up. Your back and your legs comes into play. So essentially, your arm just does the holding. And just for holding that, do not believe me, if if I say this, especially if you've never performed a deadlift, which is perfectly fine. So the next time you perform a deadlift, or try to focus on your wrist, because that is super important. You wouldn't want to drop the bar. Your wrist keep the bar from dropping, and for that you need to build up wrist strength. So to perform in other exercises, you need to train wrists and forearms. And forearms, for instance, it comes to imagine literally every pulling exercise, like rowing or curls, or simple. Let's take our best buddy, bicep curls. Yeah, in all the curl variations or any pulling action, your forearms come into play. So your forearms are the support muscle in that case, and hence you want to train them as well. Okay, in order to avoid, slipping of grips and yeah, or any kind of other sprain things to happen. So to avoid injury and to improve performance and to improve our function in everyday life. So these are the three main reasons why you gotta train wrists and forearms. And next, let's dive deep, okay, not that deep, maybe a little, into what exercises that one could choose to train these two muscles. So, number one, let's start with wrists. So, as you can already picture how wrist muscles get involved, you gotta like curl them, right? Curl them inwards. Or just try doing this while I'm talking if you could. So, just try curling your wrists towards the inside of your forearm and just stretch them really hard in the extreme positions in the top. Yeah, most inward and the most outward position, just stretch them and just feel those wrist muscles working. And you would also be able to see or observe, feel your forearms, coming into action too. So this is the exercise that we're gonna do, wrist curls. So you're gonna curl your wrist, you're gonna just fold that wrist joint, make that joint work, and yeah, you're just gonna do that 10 to 20 times with no weights. Okay, so that is the exercise that we're gonna do for wrist curls. And for this, I would recommend keeping your palms facing up. Palms should face the roof up, and then curl the wrist inwards towards your inside of your forearm. That's essentially it. That's as simple as it can get. And you can add weights as you can progress. Start with the lightest weight of all things. The lightest weight in my gym is the 2.5 kilo dumbbell, so I usually go for that. I started with that, but now I'm performing a little bit heavier. So start with the lightest weight, especially for your skull, because it's quite a small muscle, and you do not want to be training it with, let's say 50 kilo or 20 kilo dumbbells of all things. Yeah, we don't want your wrist to come out, so yeah. And I've seen a couple of guys do this, so this is not, I'm not even joking when I say this, it hurts me a lot. So please, please, please do not go heavy, especially when training these tiny muscles. Okay, so next. So earlier, a little bit while ago, I said that the forearms come into play during any curling movement or any pulling action, right? So we're gonna do some curls for facing downward. So a little bit while ago, we face our palms upward to do a wrist curl, right? So just do the opposite, face your palm downwards, and then. So what we're gonna do is keep our wrist frozen. So we're not gonna move our wrist joint, but instead we're gonna move our elbow joint. So your entire forearms will move up and down, with your elbow fixed. So there's this rotation of your elbow joint while you're working your forearms. So that is called the reverse curls because you're doing it reverse, right? So imagine a normal bicep curl. So you'll be doing with your palms facing up and you'll be pulling the weights towards your body, right? So we're going to do the same thing, just with just one modification. You're just gonna have to place your forearms facing downward instead of upward. That's it. Literally, that one change of hand position changes or shifts the focus. That's really simple, and that's really a great hack to know. Okay, so that's the exercise that I want to include for forearms. And there's one other exercise, it's called hammer curls. So we're like meeting in the middle here. So palms facing up, they're like normal bicep curls, palms facing down, that's the reverse curls, and in the middle, like palms facing each other. So your hands are like vertical. So your palms are facing each other, and then do the curling action. So those are called a hammer curl. So imagine holding a hammer and then banging onto something. So it's literally just that. So those are called hammer curls. You can do that as well in order to incorporate your brachialis muscles in your hand, which are part of your biceps. Don't worry about that. Just remember that hammer curls and reverse curls work your forearms. Okay? And like I said earlier, start light, especially when it comes to these two things. Start light and then progress gradually. It's fine if you don't increase weight, just increase the number of reps, focus on the proper form and all that before increasing the weight. Okay, this goes without saying to all the exercises that I'm going to talk about. So please do not forget this. I'll try to say this as many times as possible, but if I do forget, sometimes please do remember this. Do the proper forms. It's super important, and start like it's fine. Okay, no one's going to judge you for that. How to train effectively. So how to train this? As in, when exactly is the ideal time to do these exercises? Because what usually the other workouts, like the workouts that train the bigger muscle groups, like the chest workouts or the back workouts, they usually take up a lot of the time, right? So if you, especially if you're hitting every part of the chest, like upper chest, mid chest, lower chest, and there's like throw in like one exercise for each of those groups, and there's already four. And then on top of that, if you wanna, it could be a little overwhelming to know that you have to include these on top of all the huge exercises. So don't worry, I'm going to tell you a great way to do that. So you can incorporate these exercises, train them 2 times a week, and that's enough. So since these two muscles, the wrist and forearms, they mainly come into action during pulling movements. So if you, whenever you're training your arms or when you're having a pull day, like the day when you train your back and bicep, I'll talk about this in my blog. I'll talk about this in Instagram and all that. So yeah, again, please keep following me. We'll talk about it. For now, just know that pull day is a day when you train your back and biceps. So that on that day, you can incorporate a couple of these exercises, like I said. I mean, the reverse curls, you can incorporate them for training your forearms, and wrist curls for your wrists. That's it. Just 3 sets each, like 10 to 15 reps. Yeah, that should be fine. For a beginner, that is more than enough. It's still better than not training those at all. So that's it, just do that. Or maybe if you're training, if you have two pull days or a pull day or and an arm day during a week, so do the wrist curls on one day and the hammer curls or the reverse curls on the other pull day or the arm day. So you can split it that way as well. So just if you cannot include both exercises on one day, just do one of them on one day, okay? So it's fine. As long as you do them, it's fine. And remember this, start light and then you can go heavy. You getting strong is inevitable. You're gonna get stronger, okay? Don't stress yourself too much. And emphasize on, being consistent. So please do this every week, even if it's just one of these exercises that you're gonna do it every week, just once, and that will, you will feel a lot improvement in your strength, in your posture, your cracking of wrist, the sprains that your hands could get yourself into. Yeah, all those will go away with time, and you will start to notice that over the course of a few weeks. It's gonna take time. I'm not gonna lie. So it's gonna give it a month before you actually want to see, look for any observable changes. So give it time. It's gonna happen. Don't worry. Okay. And when do you have to incorporate these into your workout? So we talked about on what days we can do these. We can train these muscle groups, right? So when do we actually do that during that day? Should we do it first or should we do it last? That's what we're going to talk about now. And and the number one thing that is not being talked about enough, I mean, and the trainers in my gym, they usually advise us, so which is, I'm so lucky to have them at my gym, but I'm not sure about the cases in other gyms. So, but especially if you do not see someone doing this, please encourage them to do it. They'll really appreciate this. Okay, so warm up before training, especially during warm up when you're like waking up those muscles. You want to wake up those wrist and forearm bodies as well. So your rule, it's easy. So like I said, do the same curl things with no weights. Just curl your wrist, or you can incorporate this to rotate your wrist in circles. Do circles with your wrist and do circles with your forearms, do circles with your shoulder joint. Yeah, it's actually just rotating all the joints. So do all that. So rotate all the joints as much as possible during your warm-up. And that wakes up those two muscle groups. And so when to actually do the weighted training of these muscle groups. So I would suggest incorporating these at the end of your workout routines. For instance, let's consider the same pull day. So you'll be training your back and biceps, right? So like after you're training all the exercises, let's start with the back exercises and then move on to bicep exercises. And in the last, add the wrist curls or the hammer curls. Okay, so that is a perfect timing to train those because those are the smallest of muscle groups and they do not require a lot of energy. Number one. And number two, these muscle groups, they get activated while you're performing the other workouts. So it gets awakened, they get awakened even more when you're performing the back and the bicep workouts. So that is an advantage so that it will be easier for you to perform wrist curls and hammer curls when you're doing it towards the end of your workout session. So those are the two things why you want to do them at the end. Okay, so number one, warm up, and then number two, consider training them at the end of your workouts. So it's like, adding dessert after your meal. So you wouldn't want to start with the toughest thing, right? Yeah, it's kind of like that. Not a great metaphor, but yeah, something. And third thing is listen to your body. Okay, sometimes in my case this happened because a couple months ago I started training my wrist. I probably know what I'm like. Yeah, so I started training my wrist, and my wrist gave out a lot sooner than I thought. I was literally at the end of doing my 10th or 9th or 10th rep, and yeah, and I couldn't move my left wrist, but my right wrist I was able to keep training them. So it's fine. These kind of muscle imbalances, they're normal. So if you feel like such imbalances in your body, train your arms individually, one at a time. Take your one arm, do wrist curls in one arm, one of those arms, take a minute of rest, and then do the same with the other arm. The rep count may differ since your wrists have, supposedly have different strengths, and over time they're gonna, get back up. They're gonna match. So don't worry about that. Unilateral exercises. I mean, working one limb at a time, like in this case, one arm at a time. They're like one of the best exercises, especially at the beginning stage, to induce muscle growth, to increase strength, to develop strength. So, listen to your body. That's the one thing that I wanted to stress. Anyway, so that's all we got for today's podcast. It's short, yeah, just like our muscle groups. So a quick recap. So why would you want to train these muscle groups? Is because you got a function, but you don't want to be dropping a bottle when trying to open it like me. So don't be like me. Please train those girls from day one. And to prevent injuries like carpal tunnel and other wrist pains, and to improve performance in other exercises like deadlifts or dumbbell press, where there's a higher possibility of get your wrist spraining or your forearms, cramping and all that. So we don't want that, so we want to prevent all that. So we're gonna train those. And what to do is we're gonna take wrist curls, palms facing up, and reverse curls with palms facing down, or hammer curls with palms facing each other. So those are the three exercises that we're gonna choose from. Two out of those three we do. Well, how to train them is do that train them like 2 times a week. Do wrist curls on one day or hammer curls on another day, or do both of them on the same day. It doesn't matter. As long as you train them, it's fine. And do them at the end of your workout because that's when they get activated the most. And doing them would be easier at the end of your workout. Since those are small muscle groups, they don't require a lot of energy. And that's it for today. So this is not being talked about enough, like I said earlier. So wrists and forearms are really important muscle groups. So please do not ignore them. Please focus on these groups over on top of all the other muscle groups that you're training. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. Yeah, just a fellow beginner who's trying to, give out whatever he knows so that you don't make the same mistakes as I did. So please learn from my mistakes and do them right. If you have any questions, please comment down below or DM me on Instagram. All my handles, I left them all in the description. And please leave some comments, anything that you want me to cover or how I can improve. Please, I'm open to taking any kind of criticism. Even if you say that I suck, please say that so that And please also tell me where I suck so that I know I can that this is where I do, and then that I can improve on that. So thank you again so much for listening to this podcast.
See ya. Bye.